Assalamu alaikum guys, maybe you have heard that our video with the title Atheists Cannot Answer These 3 Questions caught attention a lot. Atheism, a view that constantly leads you to a dead end while questioning the universe. If you haven't watched the first video yet, you can watch it first. As towards eternity, we checked some of the comments written by the audience and let's see if they really answered the questions or not. Before we start the video, I want to say we saw that most of the objections were related to the comparison and analogies. But it doesn't make sense. We used analogies with the intention of making you better understand the existence of some basic logic rules. Since analogy is a quite practical way of conveying ideas and it's kind of magnifier zooming in some distant truths and making them appear more clearly, there shouldn't be any problem in using metaphors. It's necessary to focus on the meaning given in the example rather than the example. Okay, let's talk about the basic objections. We said that one cannot give what one doesn't have to another one. One cannot give what one doesn't have to another one. For example, let's say there are only 100 white balls in a glass sphere. What is the chance of a red ball to be chosen from this sphere? Of course it's zero, right? No matter how long you wait, you will not get any because there is no red ball inside the sphere anyway. In summary, atoms don't have any features such as knowledge, will, life, feelings, vision and hearing. So the question is, how can atoms give these features to living things? So we said that it's so clear that there must be a creator behind the atoms. And here are some objections. Atoms gain more properties in the form of molecules already. Thus, it's obvious that the sum is more than the parts. When two atoms form a molecule, the molecule has a number of properties that neither atoms have. Fire comes from non-fire. Oxygen and hydrogen atoms bond to form water, which has different attributes from the original atoms, seemingly debunking your whole premise. Okay, there are many similar comments, but I think these friends didn't get the points. They said that atoms gain new properties when they form molecules. Okay, but our question comes exactly at this point. We ask, how can it be? These friends wrote in the comments again what we presented in the video. How can different features arise in molecules and living things when these features do not exist in atoms? Be honest, is it an answer to say, but it's constantly happening? This is not to question the truth, but to imprison the mind to what the eye sees. Let's say we saw a man who could lift with his hands an enormous building which has 10 floors. We would definitely become astonished with that and look for some other cause behind. The fact that this man could do it every day wouldn't just normalize it. So it's certainly not an answer to say this happens all the time. We say that you have to think about what you see. You know, if you have black pencil, you cannot draw a colorful rainbow, right? Just like that, hydrogen and oxygen cannot be expected to give water the property that they don't have. So, we understand logically that they cannot do this job. There must be someone who controls this and gives these features to living things. You only see the image of formation with your eyes. In short, it's not an answer to say just happens. And also, it's very sad to see these kind of comments. Come on, you are speaking like you don't know anything about chemistry. This process requires no knowledge or will. It just happens. Does it really just happen? Is it so? Why don't you ask why and how? The emergence of water with a distinct character is the observed fact for which we want to find an explanation. The first question is, how can it be? The second question is, why should even an extinguishing water form after the combination of hydrogen and oxygen? Is there such a necessity requiring that formation? No. I mean, we can imagine infinite alternative ways of acting for these two elements. Why not them? Why this way of acting all the time? Why not another rule? What causes these particles to follow some specific rules and not follow the other infinite possible alternatives? At this point, only the concept of will can explain the prevailing of a specific rule among infinite possible alternatives. So, will is necessary, which atoms lack. Then there has to be an owner of absolute will. The second objection is made to the example of judge and prisoner. We said that bricks cannot form a building by coming together and agreeing. There must be an architect to control them. Think of a building which is being built with bricks. If you do not accept the architect to build it, it will be a contradiction to accept that bricks are building this on their own. Just like that, atoms cannot form a human by coming together and agreeing. There must be a creator to control them. Bricks are prisoners, architect is judge. Atoms are prisoners, God is judge. Okay, here are some objections. There is no judge or prisoner, yet you assume both. Why is that? To assume that everything has to be ordered and commanded by something is just silly. Weird question and weird reasoning. Okay, the example we gave was to show a particular condition showing us the existence of a rule. And the rule is that two opposite natures cannot come together. Judge in the comparison stands for the nature of authority, and the prisoner stands for the nature of captivity. One of them is the subject, the active being, and the other is its object, the passive being. And these two natures are totally opposite to each other, like dark and light, hot and cold, existence and absence. Just as something cannot be existent or absent at the same time, it's also impossible for an atom to give orders and take orders at the same time. Otherwise, the atom will turn out to hold two contradictory natures. If all the atoms are considered as the captives of single authority of God, there won't be any problem and there is no opposing to logic as the natures are separate and they do not combine. But if we don't refer to a God and say atoms are leading these processes, then we will have to accept that an atom is both an authority and a captive at the same time, holding two separate natures. But this is a contradiction. Each atom will have a nature of authority similar to God had, figuring all the relations with each other, having the knowledge of the whole system of human body, commanding and moving huge armies of atoms. But at the same time, these apparently most active beings will be passive and captivated objects in the hands of the other atoms. Everything would be a chaos, because a single commander can arrange the affairs of an army with great ease, their positions for example. But if the soldiers become the commanders themselves, no order will be apparent at all. Now let's pass to other objections, which says that we ignore and overlook the laws of nature, the laws of chemistry. Okay, the first one, bricks cannot build because they are lifeless. Yes, I agree with that. An architect is required. Okay, but you can't put atoms and bricks at the same point because there is such a thing as laws of chemistry. The second one, I have no idea how things like the law of chemistry work, therefore my gods. Okay. The third one, it's simple chemistry and physics. Okay, they say the laws of nature help us describe the natural phenomena and the processes. And they say that we can explain any natural phenomenon without mentioning God. Now, we should stop here and ask again, what do we mean by laws of nature? Lots of us even don't think about this, right? Laws of nature, laws of chemistry, laws of physics, what sort of being do they have? What is their essence and reality? In fact, it's only knowledge. Yes, they are only knowledge that we discovered. They don't even have a material being, like this one. For example, can you show me gravitational force? No, it's only information. It's a name of the movement of substances, right? But after all, they are considered as agents that can have an effect over things. They are only a description of the order and God's way of creating. For example, we use grammar rules while writing sentences, right? For example, we use capital letters when starting a sentences. This is a rule. Okay, does this rule write a word? Or does someone write a word with this rule? The question is, who writes sentences? Of course, grammar rules are just a name of how we write. Just like that, laws of nature are just a name of how God controls the universe. The laws of physics or the laws of chemistry are the names of God's way of ruling the universe. The formation of water by the combination of hydrogen and oxygen is a chemical law. However, it's not the law of chemistry that creates water. This law is already the name of the formation. It's just a name. So it's God who creates water by this rule. The constitution of a state can only make known how the country is ruled. It cannot rule the country. Or the no smoking law does not impose any penalties by itself. One who puts that law manages the system. Likewise, the laws of nature only describe how God controls the world. So, it's not an answer to say laws of nature. Okay, these three proofs clearly show us that God exists, and these objections don't refute these proofs. We will make many videos on these topics. We will talk in more detail, inshallah. And we claim that no objections can refute our proofs. Don't imprison your minds to your eyes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.